So the question I'm going to try and answer today is, what are the benefits of beginning your retirement fund now? Well, really, there are two big benefits, plus a bit of a reason, or a bit of a way, I guess, a tip on how to get started. But the two tips, really, that professionals and other people, other investors, kind of say why we should begin early, why we should begin young, especially as college students, is because of compound interest, sometimes called compound earnings. It's a really good way to basically make your money make you money. Is essentially the long and short of it. And then second is basically waiting actually costs you money. And third, basically finding the money. For the first point, I want to explain what exactly compound interest and compound earnings are, and what that would mean for us as people who are trying to save our money, and especially as young people who have so many different expenses, from credit card debt to school loans to car payments to gas, even just food or rent. So we have a lot of expenditures. Compound interest, sometimes called compound earnings, I'll just start, for the sake of simplicity, start calling it compound interest, is defined as generating earnings based on reinvested earnings. For that to work, it requires two things: the reinvestment of earnings and time. The way that works basically is, the more time you give your investments, the more you're able to accelerate the income of those investments. Now, to draw an example on exactly how this kind of system works, is if you invested, say tomorrow, $10,000 into your investment fund at a rate of 6%, you will have at the end of the year $10,000 or $10,600. The way compound interest works is, instead of withdrawing that $600 that you earned at the end of the year, you would actually reinvest it. You would leave it basically in that fund and keep it in there for another year. If the rate of interest remains the same at the 6% of the previous, then you will find that your total at the end of the second year will come to about $11,236. Now, that $600 that you reinvested at the end of the second year, that $600 alone will have made you $36. Now, that may seem like just nothing, it's pennies in a bucket, but that's $36 you literally didn't have to lift a finger for. Now, if you reinvested that $636 again, by the end of the next year, you'll have made $674. That's an additional $74 that you didn't have to work towards. The idea behind this is that it's interest upon interest upon interest for however long you do this, whether it be for the next 45 years until you retire, or if you're older, for the next 20 years. It's part of the reason why starting early helps, which is kind of the next point I'm wanting to get into. Now, the second point, as we've been talking about compound interest and what exactly that is, it's really important to go over the idea of starting now, as opposed to waiting 10 years or even 5 years. Now, to bring all of this to a head, I'm going to go ahead and give a bit of an example to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. Now, say we have two people, person one, person two, A, B, Ben, Jonah, whoever what you want to call them, but two people who, where person one invests 10 years later, even 5 years later, than person two. Now, let's say both invest $10,000 at the same interest rate. Because person two invested earlier than person one, the compound interest is going to be so much greater. Another good example to kind of bring this to a head is, today you make $30,000 a year. You get 4% annual raises to your salary. You plan to retire in 30 years, and you put that 4% of your raise into your retirement fund. every year and received 8% annual returns, you would have, at the end of the 30 years, $220,000 in your retirement fund. Now, if you waited 5 years from now, even if your income and your rate of return as well as your rate of compounded interest didn't change, you would only make $164,000. Now that's a ton of money. That is still a lot of money. However, because of that 5 years, it costs you about $56,000. Now that number only gets greater the more you wait. Now here's a good chart to illustrate exactly what happens when you wait those 5 years. Now some people have a hard time putting money away. They want to be able to put away the maximum amount of investments away into their savings and be able to keep their expenditures as low as possible. That's another one of the things that kind of hurts you as you wait, is your expenses don't exactly go down over time. They actually add up. Even though you're earning more money, your expenses also seem to go up. Another way to kind of steadily increase your maximum input into your retirement fund is that every time you receive a raise, it's kind of a good idea to give your retirement fund a bit of a raise. Just getting yourself closer and closer to that maximum deposit rate that you're really wanting to shoot for. And really that's kind of the long and short of it. I mean, as far as why you should be investing now as opposed to later, why you should be investing younger as opposed to older, as well as kind of prioritizing your spending to kind of make room for those investments. It's really important. Hopefully this short video gave you a bit of an idea as to why things are the way they are and how it's actually kind of a simple idea. As college students, as adults, you know, things aren't going to get any easier, so we might as well make it easier for ourselves in the long run by kind of cutting out the things we don't really need right now, as well to then kind of make room for an easier and better life, especially a better and easier retirement later on in life.